and welcome to FAQ Friday. I'm Brittany Gutierrez with the Salina Area United Way and Salina Media Connection, and with me today we have Jason Tiller, our Saline County Health Department Director and our Health Officer. Welcome, Jason.
Good morning, Brenda.
So today, number one, we always kind of start off with the most pressing questions, what people have been asking about. And I'm kind of wondering, what's with the uptick? We've seen some uptick in numbers the last couple of days.
Yeah, so right now we've kind of just seen this up and down little bit of motion with the COVID numbers, and so that really makes it hard to nail down, is this a trend that we might be seeing, or is it just kind of little bumps? We do have two small clusters that have been identified, and I think most people have been contacted, so the public in and of itself doesn't need to worry about anything. We've got the investigators working on these clusters and monitoring them, so they are pretty well under control, and I think that accounted for some of the surge that we saw this week. But if you look back over the last couple of weeks, at our reports that we put out, some days there have been, a small number, maybe 6 or 7. And then we've had a couple of days where there were 19 or 20. But there's no real rhyme or reason that we're able to determine from all of that, other than it's, as we have sometimes said through all of this, it's just COVID and just trying to figure out those kind of weird little nuances of this pandemic.
Well, and to figure those out, for people to be safe, there's still free resources. So the free testing and the free vaccination. So if people aren't feeling the best, they think they might have symptoms, what do you recommend for people to do for testing?
So if they're feeling symptomatic and they need to get checked out, they can still call their primary care. They can call stat care if they need to, and they're really sick. They can go to the emergency. They call the emergency room first if they think that they may have COVID and they're symptomatic. If they're looking to get tested, just because they either want to know whether they may have COVID, they're not really symptomatic. Maybe they think that they're going to be doing some traveling or something like that. They can look at gogettested.com. And that website will show them where free testing sites are at in order to just kind of do some routine screening testing.
And if you know you're going to be traveling, you've got plans a few weeks from now, what about vaccinations? How can people find out, and where would you like people to go look for where they can get vaccinated for free?
Absolutely. The best resource really to find out where vaccine is at, it's got the most up-to-date information about where, what kind, how to schedule, is vaccinefinder.org. When you go on that website, you will put in your zip code, and you can either choose like 10, 20, 60 miles, a radius around your zip code, and it will show you every location that is providing COVID vaccine. It will also show you where they're at, how to contact them, how to schedule, if they have vaccine in stock, and what type, so whether they have Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson in stock. If you are really wanting to be specific about what you're looking for.
And you mentioned Johnson & Johnson. That was on pause for a while,
right,
and now they're back using that again. Is that right?
That is correct. Places that had Johnson & Johnson in town prior to the pause, it just simply sat in cold storage until that pause was lifted. And in fact, looking at Vaccine Finder yesterday, some places have shown now again that they have Johnson & Johnson, so that is out there and available again.
Yeah. Well, another question, what about the masks? What's the latest with Salina and Saline County with our mask ordinance and our mask protocol, what we're asking the people to do?
Right, so CDC has put out some updated guidance, if you will, on masking outside if you are vaccinated. And they've got a lot of different information on their update about if you're outside and you're vaccinated, you may not have to mask. And I would suggest people really take a look at that if they're curious and want to know more. Also, as far as ordinances are concerned, the city still has an ordinance in place. It is a city ordinance, so anybody that has specific questions about the ordinance, they are best to direct those to the city of Salina, because that is a legal application of what they have and what they have done. And so that's where they need to direct that. Masks are still recommended as part of the overall strategy for COVID prevention, especially if you're going to be inside, you can't social distance. Kind of looking at that risk assessment of who you might be around if you're going to go to an event of some sort, especially if it's outside the city of Salina where there may not be a mask ordinance in place. But looking at those risk factors and then taking the appropriate steps to make sure that you are safe in that event or that space.
Now, last week we talked about the Swiss cheese and the layering, all the different ways that we can take responsibility as individuals and then as a community, as families. You're thinking about Mother's Day is coming up, graduations are going to be coming up, and the potential for more traveling. College kids coming and going, there may be summer camps coming up. Having those conversations with your family, finding out what the protocol is if you're going to another community, if you're on a college campus, even a high school campus for graduations, finding out ahead of time what are their policies or their protocols would be good, because public schools and private schools, we want to follow whatever their guidelines are, stay safe for that.
Yeah, I know we're kind of reaching that period where schools are going to be out, colleges are going to be out. People are just want to, they're going to want to, after this last year, throw some stuff in the car and just take a road trip, and go visit somewhere and that kind of stuff. I still urge them, though, really with any kind of travel, especially, besides COVID, this is also storm and tornado season, and make sure that they have first aid kits and the like inside of their vehicles, looking at where they're going and what kind of COVID spread might be occurring at that location, whether somebody in their group that they're traveling with is ill, and really kind of considering whether that's probably a good idea. Allergy time right now makes it a little bit difficult for a lot of people, but it's important if they sit there and they really kind of stop and think about it for a second. Do these symptoms, are they really like my allergy symptoms that I have every year, before just jumping to that conclusion? If you normally get a really stuffy nose and sneezing in allergy season, but this year you've got a stuffy nose, sneezing, and a cough, that may, be an opportunity to kind of pause, reassess, and then kind of decide, maybe I do need to get checked out to make sure that there's not something else going on, because this is a little bit different than what I experience every year.
Well, you mentioned about the seasons and change.
Yeah.
I understand there's going to be some change. We want to thank everyone that's tuned in for our FAQ Fridays, because this will be our last show for FAQ Friday. It's going to be transitioning a newsletter. I understand there was an open competition and a new newsletter name and all. Community Health Matters. And Teresa Weigel, we want to thank everyone that entered into the contest. And Teresa was the winner with a new topic. And how can people sign up for the newsletter?
Absolutely. So we will have sign-ups available soon, and that information will be put out as far as where to sign up for the newsletter. One thing people need to understand, too, is that this newsletter is going to replace the 5 times a week that we've been putting out press releases and the VaxFacts. This will also be containing additional information besides just COVID. So there'll be some COVID news in it, but we're also going to be focusing on some of the other health things that have continued to go on during the COVID pandemic, such as issues around opioid use or misuse, STDs, mental health awareness, and just a lot of the other aspects that may have either been made worse by COVID. But all of these things didn't go away because COVID was going on. So we're going to be focusing on a lot of the community issues as well. I also want to say thank you to everybody that has been part of putting together FAQ Friday, that has watched FAQ Friday and provided us feedback and comments and questions for the show, which is really what we wanted to be able to do, is answer those. And also that this is really going to be transitioning to a podcast next month too, where We will add up some information, but then there's also going to be some additional information as part of these podcasts from other county areas, and just trying to get information out there to the public about what's happening across the county, and not just hearing from the health department anymore all the time.
Well, it sounds like a good transition. Folks that maybe want to know more about what's going on in the county, checking out the website, things, the jail project, that's a big thing. So you could sign up on the website and find out how much information you want. Do you want to hear on every topic, or if there's a specific topic, you can choose that and have that sent to yourself. And knowing these questions and the feedback, part of the purpose of the show was to be conversational, to communicate with the community and all the different aspects, whether it's the radio or the YouTube or in-person conversations. You've presented at city and county commission meetings. What's your schedule like for the radio coming up?
So as far as the radio is concerned, tomorrow I am doing my last show with KINA. And we are doing a transition. Amy Meisenberg, who is my health educator, will be taking over those radio shows for KSAL and for KINA. And we are still attempting to put out information that way. And it's going to be along the same lines of focusing on additional health information that is important to the public beyond COVID. And if we have a COVID update that needs to be done, I can always hop back in and provide that. But the main focus is going to be on trying to relay the information that is relevant to Salina and Saline County to the residents, because you hear lots of national information, you hear a lot of state information, but we want to try and really be able to focus on locally here what is important to people of this county.
Well, I'm glad you shared that, and knowing that to be listening for Amy's voice and for people to start watching for Amy's picture, and over time get to meet her and know she's our community health educator. And when you have questions or there's something that's going on out and about, she will be our contact then for community health. So you can look forward to meeting Amy. And it's been good to have you. I'm glad that you've been able to share this information, and you probably have lots of things now to pull off the back burner that have been set aside. But just as a reminder for folks to get vaccinated, vaccination is free, testing is free. Anything else that you wanted to add for COVID information today?
Well, and not just COVID information, but information in general too. Although we are ending this FAQ Friday video format, we are always still looking for what's happening out there in the community. So just like you would reach out to us through either email or through private messaging to our Facebook page to ask us the questions that we've covered on FAQ Friday, I would hope that the community would still continue to do that, not only about COVID, but if there are other health matters that we're talking about, or there just may be something that's going on that we're just not quite aware of yet. And so providing that feedback is important to us. So I would hope that people would still continue to communicate that way with us and let us know what it is that they're either not sure of or uncertain of, and we try to get those questions answered.
Yeah. I strongly support that. When you have a question, call. When you have a question, do your research, not just he said, she said, or I read this on the internet, it must be true. Let's check out Salina, let's check out Saline County, and Jason and his staff at the Saline County Health Department. So Jason, thank you for joining us again today. This is Jason Tiller, Saline County Health Department Director and Health Officer, and I'm Brenda Gutierrez. Have a great day.